Welcome to Studio 5. We have one single focus in today's show. Let's take a look now at the rundown.
We are faced with a succession of two aggressive storms.
Are you absolutely certain?
A tense 72 hours before the largest invasion in military history.
One can only imagine what that was like, which is what we've done, is give the audience an imagining of what those conversations be, with the full knowledge of history as we have it.
General Dwight D. Eisenhower and Captain James Stagg face an impossible decision.
Thousands of lives hinge on this. I need a forecast.
This Studio 5 special takes you inside the making of Pressure with the cast and director.
The script was really beautifully written, and the fact that it was kind of witty.
And we begin our Pressure coverage with Brendan Fraser. He plays the role of Dwight D. Eisenhower as a general in the military before he became the 34th President of the United States.
Call General Eisenhower.
Soldiers, sailors, and airmen, you are about to embark upon the Great Crusade. The eyes of the world are upon you.
You played General Dwight D. Eisenhower
Yes.
in this film. What would you say was the greatest pressure of playing him?
Well, certainly the history of who he was.
D-Day will be the largest seaborne invasion in history.
Bringing that to the fore for one fateful weekend before the deployment of 300,000 troops in the face of inclement weather.
There are two major storms advancing towards the Normandy coast, even as we speak.
I think the pressure was that I needed to be like Ike. I had to listen and not just hear people and gain everyone's opinion and then take responsibility for the decisions to be made and stand by them. I grew to admire him as a historical figure.
Tiger was a training op, dress rehearsal for D-Day. They walked right into it. One mistake. Just that one mistake.
How would you describe those 72 hours? I saw the quote where he said, "We had better meteorologists," but how would you describe those final 72 hours?
They had to have been fraught with not just hand-wringing and chain cigarette smoking and coffee quaffing and sweating and raised voices and prayer and disillusionment and sleeplessness. Fate of the war hinges on this. All the pieces of the jigsaw are in place. One can only imagine what that was like, which is what we've done, is give the audience an imagining of what those conversations be, with the full knowledge of history as we have it, and to put the two together and tell a story that is in our cultural groundwater pretty well known, but for one small fact that we weren't aware that the attack was meant to be for a Monday and it needed to be delayed to the Tuesday because bad weather was rolling in. And up until then, meteorology was largely looking out the window. As a personal view, as a species, there's something to be said if we shake our fist at the sky and say, I don't like what you're doing right now.
We have a small window.
You want me to send my men into the storm. And this is an example of that, and it changed the course of our history.
Absolutely, absolutely.
By someone who had to make a decision about if or not to delay. And what was on his mind? I guess make a movie about it.
If D-Day is cancelled, we will lose this war.
The final decision on the timing of D-Day will be mine, and mine alone.
One of the most beautiful scenes is the scene before the storm, if you will. They're in church and the voices of the men singing. How important and integral would you say faith was to this mission?
He was a man of faith, that's for true. It wasn't just the ritual of going to church and prayer. It was knowing that he knew that we're fallible as humans. We are. We do shake our fist at the sky and wonder why. And he did know that we can only keep trying and what we must do is believe in one another. The faith that he had in his beliefs was rivaled only by the faith he had in his troops.
We will accept nothing less than full victory.
Brendan is known for quite a few films in his movie career, including George of the Jungle. He delivers an unforgettable performance in Pressure. It's in theaters nationwide Friday. Our Studio 5 Pressure Special continues with actor Andrew Scott, who will introduce us to a key figure in D-Day history you may not know about.
It's about the weather in some ways, but it's also about integrity and humility in some ways.
Studio 5 is expanding on YouTube, and you can help us to grow the platform by subscribing. Simply search Studio 5 with Efrem Graham. There you will discover the latest in uplifting entertainment, exclusive first looks on the latest films, music, and lifestyle content, plus one-on-one interviews with some of your favorite actors and recording artists. Simply search Studio 5 with Efrem Graham on YouTube. Please do it today.
The weather was, as he described, in 1904 and 1925, but he fails to mention 1916, June 5th, the battle for Mount Sorrel. Then, as now, there were areas of high pressure above the Azores, but the storms came anyway. Many people here will remember that battle. Chaos. Absolute chaos. Thousands of lives lost. Hell on earth. Torrential rain. He's selecting the data that suits him and ignoring the rest, and we must face the facts. The facts! However frightening they may be.
Welcome back to this Studio 5 Pressure Special. Andrew Scott plays Captain James Stagg, a Scottish meteorologist attached to the Royal Air Force during the Second World War. Stagg and Eisenhower are faced with an impossible decision, and they don't always see eye to eye.
You're the best meteorologist in the country.
Get me the latest readings from every single base within 2,000 miles of Normandy. The invasion's confirmed for Monday.
You play James Stagg in this film. For many, this is going to be an introduction to this man. Who is he?
Well, Group Captain James Stagg was the chief meteorological officer, and he was asked to give advice on what way he felt the forecast was going to be before the D-Day landings, and he was pressurized to give a particular forecast, and he had a forecast, and that was the one that he believed, based on the data that he collected, was going to be the most accurate one, and he wasn't going to move away from that, even though they had a date in mind, and listening to his forecast would have mean changing that date, and he refused to renege on what he believed was the correct forecast.
It's not Monday. When?
Not before June 18.
It's about the weather in some ways, but it's also about integrity and humility in some ways, because no matter how much power or control we believe we have, we are all at the mercy of nature and the weather.
If you invade tomorrow, they're going to be washed away.
300,000 men with families that they may never see again.
Where do you think that integrity and fortitude for him came from in terms of your study about him? Where do you think that came from?
I think he was a really humble person, and I think he had great passion for his subject, you know. And so he didn't really need to be the big I am, you know. He didn't need to be. He had a great expertise and a great respect for all the work. He was pretty formidable as a person, and yeah, I think that's where it comes from. Just a real interest in, you know, it's amazing to me that people are born and they have a kind of fascination with a subject, and it becomes their life's work. And everybody has you know, different passions, and that was his.
How would you describe those 72 hours leading up to D-Day, having now played this role?
Well, I wouldn't begin to understand what it was really like for the people and the enormous stakes. But what I think is so notable about all the characters, not just James Stagg, but all the people who were involved in making that decision, was just, was again that word, the humility of it and the responsibility and the sense of duty.
The final decision on the timing of D-Day will be mine, and mine alone.
How familiar were you with this story before?
Not at all. Not at all. No, I didn't know the story, and it blows my mind a little bit because, of course, it would be a huge consideration, you know, the weather. Mm-hmm. But it makes it a really interesting thing to talk about because people are surprised, like, hey, this movie's about the weather. Okay, right. But yeah, it's like the weather it's part of our everyday life for every person. So yeah, it's good. It connects people.
Is there anything that sealed the deal that made you say, I want to do this?
The script was really, really beautifully written, and the fact that it was kind of witty in places as well. It's not just all very, very serious. The dialogue was kind of wonderful, and I loved Anthony's films before, and of course our incredible cast: Damian Lewis and Kerry Condon and Chris Messina, and of course Mr. Fraser. Yeah.
We are faced with a succession of 2 aggressive storms.
Are you absolutely certain?
D-Day will be calm and sunny. I couldn't disagree with that more.
Andrew Scott has been acting since he was just 6 years old. He's worked in theater, portrayed various roles in film and television. That includes the British series Sherlock. Well, now it is time for your Studio 5 snapshot, and we're staying in theme with a look at some behind-the-scenes images from Pressure.
We share scenes from Pressure, the film, alongside scenes from what inspired the cinematic true story. Pressure, the acclaimed 2014 stage play, written by David Haig. While it's not a traditional beach-storming war story, it is a high-stakes drama set in a tense control room. Meteorologist Captain James Stagg makes possibly the most difficult forecast in history, and then must convince Eisenhower and Allied leadership to delay the invasion.
And that is this week's Studio 5 Snapshot. Still ahead, Kerry Condon introduces us to the woman who worked alongside Eisenhower until the end of World War II. Learn her name and her role when our Studio 5 special look at Pressure continues.
All the sacrifices and the lives that were made for us to be here now and have the privileges that we have now. It just was very moving seeing the real footage and those real soldiers that's in the movie.
Studio 5 is expanding on YouTube, and you can help us to grow the platform by subscribing. Simply search Studio 5 with Efrem Graham. There you will discover the latest in uplifting entertainment, exclusive first looks on the latest films, music, and lifestyle content, plus one-on-one interviews with some of your favorite actors and recording artists. Simply search Studio 5 with Efrem Graham on YouTube. Please do it today.
He gets like that sometimes. Just let it wash over you. He won't even remember what he said.
That how you deal with him?
He's nothing. I was an ambulance driver during the Blitz. There were so many dead bodies we'd use a cinema as a morgue. You just grow a thick skin.
Welcome back to our Studio 5 special look at Pressure. Kerry Condon plays Kathleen Helen Summersby, known in history as Captain K. Summersby and a member of the British Mechanized Transport Corps during World War II. She worked alongside General Dwight D. Eisenhower.
From ambulance driver to aide to the Supreme Commander.
Mm-hmm. Driver, secretary, aide, nurse, everything.
For many, this is going to be an introduction. Who is she?
She's Lieutenant Kay Summersby.
Okay.
She's the Lieutenant Kay Summersby, and she was, when the movie starts, she has been Eisenhower's driver for like 3 years and has sort of progressed to be his executive aide. So basically she's like his secretary, his right-hand woman. She kind of does everything, and also like his confidant.
Does none of you sound like long-term to you, Lieutenant Summersby?
No, it certainly does not, sir.
Well, this is Northern Europe, sir.
How would you describe the relationship between her and Eisenhower?
Well, I think like as a worker, she was very diligent and she was very good at her job, so she was sort of respected by all the other generals and everyone else there. And then I think they also respected her because they knew that Eisenhower needed her. Like, she was there for him when he was struggling with this decision and struggling with this war and this guilt over what had happened prior with Operation Tiger and how badly it had went. So I think that, and then behind closed doors, he also was very honest with her and very vulnerable. Yeah.
Is that one mistake?
Ike, you have to stop doing this to yourself.
What was the pressure for you being almost the only female voice in this film, if you will?
I don't think I felt pressure because Kay sort of knew her place and I knew my place within the story. But she did kind of know her place, and it was to do her job properly and to not, show any signs of stress and remain calm and help these people make the right decisions. So, yeah, I tried to stay like Kay, just calm.
A strong woman, though, reading just the things that she endured and saw,
yes.
Even leading up to.
Yeah, before she worked for Eisenhower, she was like an ambulance driver during the Blitz, which was fascinating to me also, because that's a level of skill, to be an ambulance driver. Even to this day, it still is quite a skill. So yeah, she was sort of ahead of her time, so married to her job, and that she had such an influence over such a powerful person.
What attracted you to this story? I think it's a story many people are going to watch and be surprised. Like, I had no clue that this is what happened 72 hours before.
Everything could have been different in our lives had this not worked out. And it also made me think about, that we talk about stress in our own life, driving home and traffic, and you're like, can you imagine the stress of thousands of people dying, and it could be your fault because you did your job wrong? It just really made me think about that, and also the just D-Day itself, just like standing up for what you believe is right, even if you're intimidated or outnumbered or feel inferior. Just how important it is to be courageous when you believe something is correct.
Monday.
Oh, they won't like this.
Kerry Condon is perhaps best known for her role in the HBO series Rome. She's also appeared in the Walking Dead series. Well, we've talked to the actors in the film. Now we're sitting down with the director, Anthony Maras.
This film's many things. It's a meditation on leadership. It's about how you bring your best self to the table when all the chips are down. But more than anything, what intrigued me about it, why I wanted to do the film, was ultimately, it's this story about one big decision that has to be made.
Studio 5 is expanding on YouTube, and you can help us to grow the platform by subscribing. Simply search Studio 5 with Efrem Graham. There you will discover the latest in uplifting entertainment, exclusive first looks on the latest films, music, and lifestyle content, plus one-on-one interviews with some of your favorite actors and recording artists. Simply search Studio 5 with Efrem Graham on YouTube. Please do it today. Hey there, welcome back to our Studio 5 Pressure Special. There were many moving parts to put together in this film, and the man in the director's chair, Anthony Maras.
Call General Eisenhower.
Tiger was a training op, dress rehearsal for D-Day. They walked right into it.
As the director of Pressure, what was the greatest pressure of bringing this film to the screen?
There were many and varied. Without wanting to sound cliche, the weather itself was a big factor for us. We shot the film in England in fall, going into winter, and the film rests on most of the film having sunny weather. And if you've ever been to England, you can't even bet on it, in the middle of summer, let alone when we shot it. I'll never forget in the week leading up to D-Day, where we're going to shoot our big battle scenes, a lot of our production resources were tied up in that. We got a series of weather reports on the Wednesday before the Monday that we were meant to shoot, that it was going to be a washout. There was going to be 50-knot waves, and there was going to be 50-knot winds and 6-foot waves and all this sort of stuff. On the Monday, it was a washout. We delayed by a day, and then on the Tuesday, the break came, the good weather came in, and we filmed the next 4 days, and it was literally art imitating life, imitating art. It was incredible.
How would you describe this story? It's going to be so new to so many people.
This film's many things. It's a meditation on leadership. It's about how you bring your best self to the table when all the chips are down. But more than anything, what intrigued me about it, why I wanted to do the film, was ultimately it's this story about one big decision that has to be made. And the people that are tasked with making this decision are some of the era's most formidable generals and soldiers and scientists. They've all got very different ideas as to when and whether they should send off the largest army in history across an ocean to go and invade another country. And watching these people slowly go crazy over 3 days, not knowing which way to turn, there's some inherent drama in that I was very interested in exploring. And so, it's a film about leadership, it's a film about war, it's a film about science, but more than anything, I think it's a film about, when we've got really tough decisions that we've got to make, how do we bring our best selves to the table to make them?
What are your thoughts on casting? It seemed perfect in every role. Describe that process for me. And
look, it was different with every actor. With Andrew Scott, we were just blessed with an actor who can do very little, or seemingly be doing very little on screen, and you can't look away. There's so much going on under the surface, and for a character who a lot of his conflict is internal, he wants to say this stuff. He wants to warn people of what's going to happen, but he knows they don't want to hear it.
Anything over 24 hours is considered long-term, meteorologically speaking.
It's something where there's layers of humanity buried beneath this gruff exterior. His character isn't necessarily likable to begin with, but you get a sense that this guy's a rock and nothing is going to faze him. Eisenhower is a very different depiction as to how we commonly know Eisenhower the president. This is Eisenhower the general.
There's only one imponderable that remains. I need a forecast.
We wanted to show the man behind the myth. We wanted to show behind the closed doors, what were his fears, what were his vulnerabilities. What's it like to have the lives of hundreds of thousands or even millions of men on your shoulders, and the decision that you make will determine their fate. We needed an actor and in Brendan we found that.
This film is released as America celebrates a major anniversary. How special and significant is that for you?
Look, it's hugely significant because this film is, enmeshed in the cultural memory of our country, and we're also incorporating real-life archival footage into the material, and so audiences will kind of get a front row seat of not just what we recreated, but what we enmeshed with real-life images of thousands of soldiers, storming the beaches of D-Day and the lead up to it, and so I was proud of how all that worked out, to be honest.
Pressure hits theaters May 29th. Right now, we've got time for just one more thing. Let's give the final word to Brendan Fraser, who plays General Dwight D. Eisenhower.
What was your first connection to this story? Do you remember when you first saw? What was your first connection?
I was unaware that there was a delay from Monday to Tuesday, for reasons being that the weather was off, and I was not appreciative of what that meant. You can't just turn around 300,000 men. You can't just delay for 2 weeks and wait for the tide to change to the way that you like it to be without indicating to the enemy that you've just shown your cards. I knew none of this. Of course, they came with research and with reading the script and doing my job, which I was happy to. And I did grow to admire him. He was a product of his time, but I did grow to admire that he was an individual who listened to everyone. He didn't just hear them. And he took responsibility. He was the supreme commander of the Allied forces. And that was fraught in its own way, considering that, yes, there were opposing forces from within the same house who wanted to be in charge, and who was the one to take responsibility for what was absolutely part of the equation. But in the end, I think it was down to perseverance and faith. And honestly, this film exists as a testament now to remind us not only what was at stake at that time, but remind us what leadership looked like then and the reason why we went to war. at all in the first place.
That is a great final word for this edition of Studio 5, the Pressure Edition. Until next time, make time to uplift someone around you, and then please come on back and see where Studio 5 takes you next week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye, everybody.